Assalamu alaikum guys and welcome back to another video. It's Ibrahim Muslim and today I'm back on another video on Hackintosh. So in this video I will tell you how to create and how to install macOS Big Sur for your Hackintosh system. So right now I'm using quite a different setup than before. So this is Intel Core i7-8700 for my system and I'm on Z390 gaming SLI motherboard. I'm using the Radeon RX 5500 XT. Before that I was using the 5700 XT, and they both have similar compatibility issues in which you won't get a display without an HDMI output on your graphics card. If you have two display port, then it's really hard to get a proper display out on every time after the boot. Still trying to fix that issue, but meanwhile let's see how to install macOS Big Sur. So you can see I'm on 11.0.1 macOS Big Sur, and this build is quite stable and I'm really liking it, and the performance increase is really good, the graphics animations are really good, and the compatibility improvement are really good on this system because of the improved graphics acceleration and because of better metal support for RX 5700 and RX 5000 series of GPUs. I've also heard that in the next Big Sur beta 1 or beta 2, they have also release the support for the 6800 series of graphic card, or you can say 6000 series of graphic card, which includes 6700, 800, 6800 XT and 6900. Okay, so let's start with how to get this thing installed. I'm using the OpenCore configurator for this build. So first of all, let's open the OpenCore, and you can download the OpenCore from the OpenCore website. And if we do so, is like OpenCore configurator. Just go there and download the OpenCore configurator from here. Okay, let's download this. Once it's downloaded, then basically you'll get this. So I'm on OpenCore 0.6.4, which is the latest release at the moment, and by the time you're watching this video it might be increased or there might be like a latest version, so you better check that. So let me show you how you can check the available OS or available bootloader. So let's open this. Okay, open. Okay, so you go here in tools and then you say OpenCore downloader. So this version always get one step behind the latest release. I don't know why. Maybe they do it for a stable installation. But right now you can see I'm booted with 0.6.4, which is 064, and it's a 2020 1207 model. Okay, and you can download this one right from here. But if you want the latest one, you can still go to the site. You can write OpenCore bootloader 0.6.4 and you will get this release, and this one is the latest one, and you have to download the release version. So once this is downloaded, you have to mount your drive. And how do you do that? Okay, let me do a clean installation for you. In my previous videos I explained almost everything, but let's give it a restart, or let's do it one more time. Okay, we're gonna download this just to make stuff easier for you guys. Okay, so let me mount my drive, enter the password. Okay, so this is my current build and this is the one we downloaded. Okay, let me move it here and let me replace it. So I'm going to replace. Okay, so this is the one we downloaded from the website, and now we open this, and here look, ACPI is empty, Bootstrap has a Bootstrap EFI. Drivers have some few of the drivers we need. Text is empty. Resources have some resources, and tools have its tools. Okay. So now what we have to do is first we have to open the config.plst, which is not available here. Okay, so I will give you a pre-built config.plst from my system, which is Z390 Gaming SLI. You can use that, and you can modify it to use on any 300 series motherboard and even on 200 series motherboard. Okay, so this is our sample PLST, which has almost all the stuff I need. So right now you can see my SSDTs are here, and they have a mentioned fixed. So what I mean by fixed is I have custom designed each of the SSDT for my system, which will not work on every system. So what we have to do currently is we just remove this and we start with the generic build. Okay, we go here, and for Z390 systems, what we have to do is first for Z390 system, we have to download this, which is for 300 series only. Okay, because Z390 means 300, and then we have to go to add SSDT PMC for NVRAM fix. We have to use SSDT plug for power management for CPUs higher than Haswell, and then we have to get one more, which is this one, SSDT EC desktop. And you can also use this one, but I don't use this one right now, but let's try to boot without this. So we are downloading them, and here, so these are the main for one which you require to boot the system. So once this is done, we move to the second step, which is booter. Okay, in booter you have to enable all of these for Z390 system. You don't miss any one of them for a Z390 system. And if you're on Z370 or 350 or 310, you don't need protect UEFI services. Okay, you don't need this one. Okay, let's move to the next second step. Here you can add device properties. This is what you require for Intel HD on Coffee Lake. So this is for the Coffee Lake. If you are on 300 chipset, you'll probably be using Coffee Lake. So you have to use dispatch. And the one under these are not for you. This is for my specific system. We can just remove them and they won't affect. Okay, so this one is for you only. Then we have to move to the kernel. Okay, in kernel we have to basically add these all. So let's remove them and I will tell you which one you require. Okay, let's go to download text, and it's saying we have an updated version. Okay, let it check. So you know right away which four we need most importantly. So these four are the most important one, these one. Okay, and okay, let's go. So this one, virtual SMC, it's provide the fake SMC controller. It's the substitute for fake SMC. Whatever green is for GPU, and it helps to make GPU boot better. It gives a lot of compatibility to a lot of different graphics card. Okay, then we have to go down, and if you have an older or non-Apple SSD, you can use NVRAM fix. It helps a lot. And then we have to go to the codec commander. So this one is for adjusting few of the audio fixes, but I will not recommend you this on a fresh install. Let's boot without this first. This is very important, USB inject all. Without this, you will not get your USB injection properly. And then is Intel MUSI. So this is for Intel LAN card controller, and almost all the Z300 and series of motherboard from Gigabyte and Asus and ASRock basically use this controller. There are very less chances that any other one is used in your system. So let's start with these one. Okay, so we just click download. So it's downloaded in. Okay, this is the SMC package, so you have to install SMC power processor and SMC IO, nothing else if you are not on a laptop. And remember to choose the right drive from here. So we have EFI. On this EFI partition I mounted for my system, nothing else. So we have to download it again, and this time it is placed in the right directory. Don't forget to check this. Okay, so let's move to the fourth step, which is we have to adjust some quirks here. Disable LO mapper. This is really useful. Even if you have the VTT disabled from BIOS, do not disable this, otherwise your Wi-Fi card will not work. This is so annoying in Big Sur that it pisses the hell out of me. It took almost 15 days for me to figure out what was messing up with my Wi-Fi card. Everything was working. It's a native Apple Broadcom Wi-Fi card, but it was not working on Big Sur just because of this stupid little quirk. I enabled it and my Wi-Fi started to work, and otherwise it was such a pain for me. Okay, so never forget to enable this, and then panic no kex dump and power timeout kernel panic. And these are also adjustable, but they are not required for a fresh installer. Okay, so let's move to the miscellaneous one. Okay, here you can set the timeout as 10 because in the start you need to select the drives every time, and it's kind of a picky. So just don't use timeout 1, otherwise it will just boot right in and you won't be able to get what you're doing. Okay, use the target 67 if you want panic log. So for the startup, for the fresh install, we use the target 61. Once your system is stable, quite okay, then you don't need this. Apple debug, Apple panic, and system report is when you are using the debug version of OpenCore. So if you are able to get your system boot without a debug version, then you don't need this. Having a lot of trouble, then we can use the debug version and see what's causing the issue. Here, these settings are very important. Allow NVRAM reset and allow set default. This is very important. Otherwise, you won't be able to reset your NVRAM once the boot flags are there. And if you don't allow this, you won't be able to set the default boot drive from the OpenCore bootloader, and that's a pain in the ass as well. Okay. Then you have to select Volt as optional, Boot Protect as none, DMG ending, and Secure Boot Model disable. Big Sur does not support any secure boot models yet, so don't use any of these, and you have to enter these specific values as they are mentioned here. Okay. Then we go to the NVRAM, we go to the 7C4361, and if you are using the AMD RX 5500 series or 5000 series, you have to use AGDP mode is equals to Pykira, which is very important. ALC ID is equals to 1 is for your audio if you are using ALC 1150, ALC 1200, or ALC 889. And then -V is for the verbose to get all the boot lines that are shown when the system boots, and it is pretty nice and very helpful to get debugging of your system. Okay, nothing else is required here, and also keep in mind use right flash. Then we go to the platform info. So this is the platform info I recommend for a fresh install. You can move to the Mac Pro 7,1, but for the starters, the best one is to choose the iMac Pro 1.1. Also remember there is a kind of a bug or whatever, but if you go here and you choose iMac Pro 1.1, this thing disables. So this is very important that you select this, otherwise it won't be saved in your in your config.plst, and you won't be able to display, and you will be like, what the hell is wrong with the system? It won't save the config.plst, and that's really annoying. Okay, then UEFI. Then here in APFS we have to use enable jumpstart, hide verbose. It won't show the APFS settings that the OpenCore goes through. You have to use the deduplicate boot order, and also request boot war routing, and TSC sync timeout is equals to 0. Min date and min version is equals to 0. Audio, you can add the audio device ID here. You can get this from device properties, but for the fresh install, just let's ignore it. And audio support and play time, let's ignore it at the start as well. No need. So here, these drivers are really important. and what you have to do is just go download an ACPI and just choose the driver I'm using. Audio DXE is for HDI drivers, and for other audio controllers it is very important that you use this. Open runtime is very important. Open Canopy is not that much important, but it provides you the graphical user interface of OpenCore. It's still in a debug mode, still in a beta mode, so it's not highly recommended, but when your system is stable enough you can use this. NV Express DXE is very important, and XHCI DXE is very important, and HFS Plus is very important. And if you want to boot Windows with OpenCore, you have to use the NTFS system drivers. Don't forget any of that, and don't forget to choose the right boot drive from here as well. Don't forget that, very important. Okay, input you can just leave it as it is, output leave it as it is, but make sure you have these settings selected. And here you can leave it blank, or you can mention max. This can be left blank as well. The built-in graphics. Okay, so for me personally, these settings help me boot the system in Big Sur. So for a startup, I would recommend a bit of these to use, but try to boot without these first. But once your system is stable enough, you can try these to improve the compatibility as well. Okay, so in reversed memory, there's nothing I have used yet now till now. So basically, that's all the setting you need to boot into macOS X Big Sur with Z390 chipset, and that's also used for the Z390 gaming SLI. So that's all the settings you need to boot into macOS X Big Sur. Also, if you get some specific kernel issues which state that you have that the system stuck at boot, that the system stuck at PCI begin, or okay, so that's all the settings you need to boot into the macOS Big Sur with OpenCore. Also, if there is a specific error that comes on macOS Big Sur, which is caused by a wrong timed RTC system clock. So for that you can download the ARTC, and if this does not fix the issue, what you can do is basically, if that does not fix the issue, then you have to write a custom RTC patch for your system, and that issue comes only when you have a system clock that is not working in sync with the Big Sur, and then you have to write a complete custom RTC patch, which I have for my system. My system was the one which does not boot without it. So you can see I have this RTCO fixed. So this patch, I will also upload this patch if you're on gaming SLI, but if you are using any other Z390 chipset, you might have to write this patch, and I will make a complete video on how to make that patch. Okay, so for now, that's all you need to do to boot into the macOS X Big Sur, and I will make a video. So let's restart and see how the system boot up works. So let's move to the second step of installation, which is making a bootable macOS X installer drive. So if you're on Mac, then the steps are pretty easy. You have to download the latest macOS X Big Sur from the macOS App Store, and once the Big Sur is downloaded, you need this specific terminal command. Okay, so the terminal command is this. You can get this from Apple, and I will also mention this in the description. Okay, so copy this, and I name my OS installer as OS X, and it's mentioned in the command. And I'm also using an SSD to make the installer, because SSDs are pretty fast for copying data, and it reduces our installation time by a lot. Okay, we enter the password, and voila, we press yes, and the drive which was mentioned as OS X is taken by the terminal, and it's editing it right now, copying data. Copying data speed is pretty nice on SSDs. It's even faster it's faster than almost all USB drives, and it can make the installer in like 1-2 minutes. Look at this, 535 MB per second, 40% copying done already. The macOS Big Sur is one of the largest macOS installer drive till now. It's like 12.5 GB in size, and it's pretty big. You can see the size is mentioned here. It's out of 32 GB, it's taking about 13 GB already. And that's it. We are done with making a bootable macOS X installer. So once we are done with making a bootable macOS X installer, all we have to do is we have to mount our SSD EFI partition so we can place the EFI we created into it. So this is the name of my EFI partition of my hard drive, portable SSD. We mount that drive. Okay, first unmount this. Where does it go? Okay, let's try one more time. Okay, open the partition. Okay, so this is the partition, and let's clean this first. Ta-da! And let's place the EFI we created into it. So once this EFI is copied into the installer, all we need to do is give our system a restart. So let's move to the camera now from screen recording, and let's see how well we do. Okay, so we are in BIOS, and let's set up the BIOS. So setting up the BIOS is very important. It's a UEFI BIOS, no doubt, but it's called UEFI, not a BIOS anymore. But because the term is old and everyone uses BIOS for these settings of your motherboard, so let's do this. So let's tweak our UEFI, and this is very important, and without this you won't be able to get into macOS Big Sur and not even macOS Catalina or before with OpenCore. OpenCore is very specific with BIOS settings. So let's go from, so this is the advanced mode. Let's go from tweakers. So here you just don't need anything, and it's just a clean go. Then we go to the settings and we come into platform power. So BIOS for Gigabyte motherboard is different than what is available in ASUS motherboards, and I will make another video for ASUS motherboards as well. Let's boot into the Gigabyte settings first. So platform info, you have to make sure you disable the platform power management and enable the RC6 render standby and disable the CEC 2019 settings. Very important, you have to disable them. Then in IO ports, you have to make your initial output as the PCI 1 slot where your graphic card is placed. You have to disable the internal graphics. You have to make the aperture size as 2 gigabits. And PCI bifurcation is, you can leave it as auto. Audio control, yes. Above 4G decoding is very important as well. You have to enable it. PCH LAN controller enable as well. Wake on LAN, you can use it as enable or disable, your choice. And IO APIC 24119 entries enabled as well. In USB configuration, press enter. Enable legacy USB support, enable exit CIA, enable USB mass storage, and port 60 to 64 emulation as well. Go down there, network stack configuration, disable this. Go down NVMe, these are your NV storage, just leave them. SATA, in here you can enable SATA controllers. SATA mode selection should be ACPI, otherwise you won't be able to get your SATA hard drives to display. And aggressive LPM support should be enabled as well. ES RAID, just leave this. And Intel Ethernet connection, it must be enabled to get your Ethernet working. So we press escape, we go back, and in miscellaneous, make sure you disable your system LEDs for the fresh install to avoid any errors, because these LEDs do take location in your memory. Disable Intel Trust Platform technology, and software guard extension should be software enabled only. Max link speed should be Gen 3 or auto, it's your choice. and leave the 3D Mark 01 enhancement as disabled. Trusted computing should also be disabled. Go back. PC health status is left as it is, and fan speed can be modified based on your requirement. Okay, that's all for the settings, and this is the display of the devices we have enabled. Then we come to the boot section. In here, you have to select your USB or your boot up drive as the main drive, which is Windows My Passport. You select this one as your main boot up drive, and then you have to disable the fast boot, and also Windows and 8.10 features. You should make it Windows 8 and 10. In Clover Configurator, we use other OS, but in OpenCore, we use Windows 8 and 10. And remember to disable the CSM support, because OpenCore works far better with CSM support disabled. And also some of the graphics card boot better with CSM disabled, and some of the older card do need CSM to boot, and in those cases you are undoubtedly trapped into enabling the CSM support for your graphic card to boot. In secure boot, you have to disable the secure boot enable, and secure boot mode should be custom instead of standard. Okay, then we save the profile. You can mention it as hack profile 1, hack 1, and you just save and exit. Okay, so now we restart, we save the setting, and then we wait for OpenCore to show its menu. Okay, so now we are in OpenCore bootloader. So this is not like Clover bootloader, it's like quite simple, just text only bootloader. That's why we are using the OpenCanopy to make it more like visual. But right now we'll just use this because it's a fresh install and we gotta make the system work. So we will boot with macOS install Big Sur. So everything went on good, and we are in macOS Big Sur installation drive. Okay, so let me make it a bit stable right here. And then we'll go to the Dix utility. Okay, so we have booted into the recovery, and first we have to go to the disk utility. And the number one step I would recommend is to choose which item to show, and you have to select all devices. Okay, so now I have all these devices preoccupied, and only free space I have is for this Mac OS X Big Sur. It's a 32 GB installation, 32 GB free space on my hard drive, and I will basically use that to install Mac OS Big Sur. It's on my portable SSD. So let's go and install Mac OS Big Sur. And as you can see, the internal Wi-Fi card works out of the box. Agree, and okay, it's need 35.66 GB. Okay, let's go back. I'm running kind of a short. I can't use my other drives because I have to make a RAID 5 out of them, and because of the software incompatibility on the Mac OS Big Sur, I'm having a lot of issues already. Only because if you use the software, then okay, let the thingy come up. Okay, so we're back in this utility, and I have to arrange some free space for this. And okay, let's format this. Okay, this will combine. Okay, 48 GB would be enough, and let's install this. Okay, so this is our macOS Big Sur installation, and then we'll go back, continue, continue, agree, agree, and voila. Okay, we got this drive here, and we will do continue. And now we will leave the installation to be installed, and there will be a couple of restart. The beauty of OpenCore is that it automatically selects the next boot up drive which macOS tells it to boot, and it's not like Clever that you have to basically select which partition and which drive to boot every time you do a fresh installation. So from now here onward, if nothing goes wrong, if no ACPI errors or nothing comes up, the OpenCore will itself do all the loading, and it will basically select its own boot drive, and it will do all the installation because it have control over NVRAM, and NVRAM is what makes the BIOS and what tells the BIOS what to boot and what to not. So this is very, very beautiful, and I really like that in macOS Big Sur. So I will let this go, I will let this run, and I will come back when it's done. So we have restarted, and now you will notice that it installed. Okay, so it's booting from the installer, and look at this. So it's pure like a Mac boot up. So that's how a Mac basically does. It's to give you a black screen, and it tells you how to install, how long the installer will take. So it's very native. So as you can see that OpenCore have installed the macOS Big Sur all on its own. If you do all the patches and SSDTs and AML correct, you don't need to do anything. And the beauty of OpenCore is that it did the whole installation process on its own. That you don't have to select any file, you don't have to select any bootable installer, and it does everything right on its own from each partition and from each installation process. It goes on without any help. So we are in macOS Big Sur, and it was pretty neat and easy to install if you just get the stuff all right and boot it from thingy. And if you get all the stuff all right and you make the patches and stuff all right. So we can also sign into the Apple ID. We'll do the signing in. And all my internet settings, all my Wi-Fi and stuff is also working. Okay, let's give it a sign up, and it probably will show this on my system. Okay. Okay, so we add the code that was sent to us on my phone, and voila. Okay, I agree. Okay, so I got my name and my username from my account, and I will just enter the password here. I will say continue. Setting up iCloud. So you can see everything is just so fluid on OpenCore, and if you just set the files correctly, and if you make the SSDT and patches correctly, everything just goes super nice with OpenCore. And once you get into installer, there are very less chances you will get any error in the installation further ahead. Okay, the iCloud setup was complete. We will use Express Setup. I don't want to share the analytics with Apple. Don't want to make them work on my Hackintosh because I do it on my own. I don't need Siri as well. You can get it, but nah. And let's go to auto, and it's kind of looks really good on boot up and on the white screen. So I just select auto. So almost there, and voila. Okay, and as you can see, Wi-Fi is working. Do not disturb settings. Location is working. Go to settings. Let's visit audio. All the audios are working. My Sony TV, my Dell display. I go back. Go to system, about the system. So the processor is unknown here because I'm using the iMac Pro configuration. But if I go to iMac, then it does show it's Intel Core i9 or Core i7. So here are all the details. Bluetooth is working, Bluetooth version 8 on Big Sur, audio working, graphics display 5500 XT working, all the USBs are working on 5 gigabit speed, as you can see, 10 gigabit on the back ports, and Wi-Fi. What else is there to check? I don't have Thunderbolt card right now in my system. Power is working, NVMe Express, storage devices, everything is like fluid. Okay, this is the installer drive on which I install the macOS, and these are my other drives. This one is kind of a rescue OS right now for me, like it whenever I need something, whenever my system crashes, I can directly boot into it. I have the EFI on it. It's a complete system on an external hard drive, and it's worked pretty well. I can do some browsing. We can go to www.youtube.com/Ibrahim Muslim. And you can like, share, and subscribe to the channel. So that's all for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any question, query, let me know in the comment section below. I will be adding more details. I will be adding more files for each of the systems. I will make a custom config.plst for Z390 systems, for Gigabyte, Z370, Z310, and then I will try to make custom files for Z270 and B270, H270, H170 and Z170 chipsets as well. And in the next week, I will be uploading video on the AMD Ryzen 3600, and then on 38950X, and then on 5800 and 5900 series on X570 motherboard. So that's all for this video, guys. If you have any question, query, let me know in the comment section below. You can ask me questions on YouTube, but avoid asking questions on my Facebook page. I'm not so active there. Also, if you have any question and if you really need my support, you can contact me on Patreon. Patreon is a very, very good channel, and from there I help a lot of people every month, and you can contact me there for personal support. And it's a little subscription, and it costs very little. It's a small little subscription for very well maintained support. So until then, so that's all. And once again, thank you so much. And until the very next video, please take care. Allah Hafiz.